Hey guys, for this video I'm going to be talking about inequalities. So what exactly is an inequality? It is a statement that says two expressions are not equal. So what is the difference between an equation and an inequality? So an equation, equations are two expressions that are equal, and there is only one solution. In an inequality, there are two expressions that are not equal. Usually they have more than one solution. So the inequality symbols that we have is the less than symbol, the greater than symbol, less than or equal to symbol, and greater than or equal to symbol. So when we have less than and greater than, we use an open circle on our graph. Whenever we have this less than or equal than, or less than or greater to, no equal, it does not have the line under it, so it means that they are not equal. So that's why we use an open circle. When we have greater than or equal to and less than or equal to, we use a closed circle because x can equal that number. So solving one-step inequalities. So we're going to do the same thing that we were doing with equations. So we're going to figure out what operation we have, and we have addition, and we're going to do the opposite of both sides. So all it is just like solving an equation for the variable. Bring down your n. These two cancel. This is your greater than sign, and -4 minus 7. We keep, change. They're the same sign, so we add. So n is greater than -11. So in order to graph this, I'm just going to put some numbers in here. Doesn't really matter which numbers you put on your number line as long as you have this number here, whatever you got your answer for. So remember, when we have a greater than symbol, it's an open circle. And then let's think about what's greater than -11. Think about is let me see. Let's see if this statement is true. -12 greater than -11. Is that true? No. So then let's look at -10. Is -10 greater than -11? Look on your number line. So -10 and all these numbers here, -9, -8, -7, -6, and -5, they're all greater than -11. So this is the way that my arrow is going to go. This is how you graph it. Okay. This means that if I plug in my n for -10, these are all going to be correct. Whatever is greater than -11 can be plugged into this. This is why it said that the inequalities have more than one possible answer, and then so on and so forth. Okay, now let's look at the next problem. Let me clear my screen. All right, x minus 3 is greater than negative 7. Once again, we're going to solve just like we did with equations. My 3 is being subtracted, so you have to do the opposite to both sides. So add 3 to both sides. Bring down your x. These two cancel. Bring down your greater than sign. Negative 7 plus 3. They're different signs, so we have to subtract. 7 minus 3 is 4. Take the sign of the bigger number. So I'm going to put in okay, so I'm going to start where my number is at. X is greater than negative 4. And I'm going to put an open circle because that number cannot equal negative 4. Or that x cannot equal negative 4. And x is going to be greater than negative 4. So my arrow has to go to the right. All right, next problem. N divided by 2 is less than negative 5. So 2 is being divided, so to get rid of this 2 on this left side, I have to multiply 2 on both sides. Remember, multiplication is the opposite of division. Bring down your n. Less than negative 2, negative 5 times 2. They're different signs, so my answer is going to be negative. 5 times 2 is 10. So n has to be less than negative 10. Okay, remember my circle goes on the number that we solved for. So it's going to be at negative 10. Remember, since I do not have an equal sign, my symbol does not say less than or equal to. It just says less than. My circle is going to be open. And then n is less than negative 10. So if you have less than, then my arrow is going to go to the left. So all these numbers, all the way down to infinity, negative infinity, can be equal to n. All right. So which graph shows the solution of x minus 5 is less than negative 1? So when we first look at it, remember that my less than symbol does not have an equal sign. So this is what less than or equal to looks like. It does not have this line here underneath the symbol. So since I have less than, my graph cannot have a closed circle because my x cannot equal that number. So we cannot have this one, this graph, or this graph because they both have circles or closed circles. So now let's solve for x. So negative 5 is being subtracted, or 5 is being subtracted, so we're going to add 5 to both sides. Bring down your x. These two cancel. Bring down your less than sign. Negative 1 plus 5, they're two different signs, so I have to subtract. 5 minus 1 is 4. Take the sign of the bigger number. So now it reads x is less than 4. Now let's look at a. Let's plug in. So whatever the graph touches, so whatever this line touches here, we can plug in for x. So let's plug in 6 because it's part of that line. Is 6 less than 4? Think about it. No, it is not less than 4, so it cannot be my first graph. So let's look at C. Let's do 0 because it's a part of my line here. 0, is it less than 4? Yeah. So my answer is this graph here. But remember, there's a trap. When you multiply or divide each side of an inequality by a negative number, multiply or divide, only multiplication and division, you must reverse the inequality symbol to maintain a true statement. Solving by dividing by a negative number, divide each side by the same negative number and reverse the inequality sign. So here, we're dividing by -2 on both sides. Then these two cancel. X is now greater than or equal to -3. So then we can graph this. -6. Okay, so remember, this is a greater than or equal to symbol. So my circle has to be closed. And then since it's greater than, my arrow is going to go to the right. Okay, so n divided by -4 is greater than 3. So since -4 is being divided, I'm going to multiply -4 on both sides. These two cancel. N is greater than -12. Remember, 3 times 4 is 12. They're different signs, so my answer is going to be a negative. And remember, I had to flip my sign. I forgot to flip my sign here because we multiplied by a negative number. So all we do is just flip it. So now n is less than -12. So my circle is going to go at the number I have, so -12. It's going to be an open sign because this is just less than, and then it's going to go to the left. Now let's plug it in, and I'm just going to show you how this makes it true. So I'm just going to do -16. I'm going to plug in -16 for my answer. Is it greater than 3? -16 divided by -4. They're the same sign, so it's going to be a positive answer. And that's true. 4 is greater than 3. But if I plugged in, let's see. If I plugged in positive 16, but if I were to plug in positive 16 divided by -4, remember I had to flip the sign later, and I put it back. So 16 divided by -4, that's going to give you a -4. That is not greater than 3. So that is the reason why we have to flip our sign. All right, identify the solution of the inequality -3x is less than or equal to 27. So remember, I have a less than sign under here, so all of the circles are closed. So let's just solve for x. And -3 and x are multiplying, so we have to divide -3 on both sides. These two cancel. X is greater than or equal to 27 divided by -3. It's going to give me -9. Remember, I had to flip my sign because we're dividing by a negative. So when you're dividing or multiplying by a negative, you have to flip your sign. So now let's look at the graph. It can't be A because this is less than -9. And always make sure that your circle is where your number is at. So my circle should be at -9. This circle here is at +9, so it can't be this one. And once again, at D, my circle is at +9, so it can't be D. So then look at C. This is -9. And if you have greater than, you have to put your arrow to the right. So C is my correct answer. All right, identify the solution of the inequality. 3x is less than or equal to 27. X is less, so let's figure out what x is. So remember, this is less than or equal to, so my circles have to be closed. So 3 and x are multiplying, so you have to divide 3 on both sides. Those two cancel. X is less than or equal to 27 divided by 3 is 9. So the only difference we have from this problem and the last problem is that 3 was a negative. We did not flip our sign because we did not multiply or divide by a -3. So let's take a look at these. It can't be A because my circle is at -9. My circle is at 9 here, but this says 9. X is greater than 9. It can't be C because this circle is at -9. But then look at D. It says that 9, and if you're going to the left, that means less than. So it has to be D because all these that are on my line is less than, or on my arrow, it's less than 9. So it has to be D. All right, so I want you guys to take a moment and figure these out. So I'm going to go ahead and do the first one. 8x is less than -24. I'm going to do these so that you can check your answers. So 8 and x are multiplying, so you have to divide. 8x is less than -24 divided by 8. It's going to give me a -3. I didn't flip my sign here because I didn't divide by a negative. So then number 2 says -5x is greater than or equal to 30. Divide by -5 on both sides. X equals, it's greater than or equal to, so 30. We have to flip our sign because we're dividing by a negative. 30 divided by -5 is -6. X divided by 5 is greater than 4. So 5 is being divided, so we have to multiply 5 on both sides. These two cancel. X is greater than 4 times 5 is 20. Then from here we have x divided by -8 is less than or equal to -3 divided by 4, or -3/4. Multiply -8 on both sides. These two cancel. X is now, we have to flip our sign because we multiplied by a negative. X is now greater than or equal to, remember, when you can't multiply fractions and whole numbers, so you have to put a 1 under this whole number. -3 times -8 is 24. 4 times 1 is 4. You can simplify that by dividing. And so now x is greater than or equal to 6. Please email me if you have any questions about any of these.